It's all a big joke to them. The liberal media laughing and mocking voters who are concerned about a border crisis that's caused carnage in America. Thousands of fentanyl poisonings, cops assaulted, and innocent American lives being snuffed out. Laken Riley deserved to live her life and not be brutally assaulted and murdered by an illegal immigrant who Joe Biden let in. But caring about that, apparently pretty funny to MSNBC.
If you look at some of these exit polls, I mean, I live in Virginia. Immigration was the #1 issue.
Yeah.
I mean, again, these could change in Virginia.
Well, Virginia does have a border with West Virginia. Very contested area.
Build the wall. Like, what?
Oh, it gets worse than that. Joy Reid smearing millions of people in this country who vote Republican.
Republican voters don't vote that way. They don't vote based on economics or based on the benefits they're getting economically from the president. They're increasingly, from the Tea Party on, they're voting on race. They're voting on this idea of an invasion of brown people over the border. The idea that they can't get whatever job they want. A black person got it, therefore drive all the blacks out of the colleges, get rid of DEI. That is what they're voting on. They're just voting specifically on racial animus.
Greg, at the top, when they were laughing about immigration, it reminded me of when Cuomo and Lemon were laughing about the crime wave.
I had a great dinner last night. You didn't see any crime.
Right.
Oh, I played that forever. It is strange to see so-called progressive, strong women who've, parade their superiority on the backs of female victims, whether it's crime, immigration, women's sports, gender surgery. They indulge militant activism, and it's more important to appease them than it is to protect actual biological women or just women, average women. The more wrong they are, the more entrenched they become in their wrongness. It's because they, again, I said this before, they apply a moral context to the argument, so you're no longer arguing over the facts. If you take an objective fact, independent of morality, innocent people are victims of crimes due to unchecked illegal migration. Okay, that's just an objective fact. You don't even have to be emotional about it. But inject a moral stance and say that's a xenophobic position to take, then trying to solve that problem, have a corrective measure, is seen as immoral. And this explains why there are no competing ideas on these shows. We'll have competing ideas here, and we're able to change our minds. They cannot have a competing idea near them because that is immoral, because it is actually coming from another side, and they believe that's wrong. So this creates a climate of fear. You don't see that at the table, but no one on that set will dare speak up for fear of being called names, right? So there's somebody there on that table that's going like, I think we went too far here, we went too far. So instead, they parrot each other's ideologies that actually harm women.
Judge, if there was the #1 issue in the country, and it was blaring loud and clear on all of your own polls, and you just dismissed it, maybe you'd think it was you that were missing the big issue.
The amazing part of this is that Joe Biden says he needs billions to combat the problem at the border. But MSNBC says there is no problem with immigration and there is no problem with any of this stuff, that, it's really a joke. Well, it's not a joke to the family of people to the family of Laken Riley, or it's not a joke to families whose kids have died as a result of fentanyl. It's not a joke to just today a state trooper was killed allegedly by an illegal or violent crime in Virginia against a minor, a sexual assault. I mean, they sit on their high horses and they look down at the rest of us and say, it's too bad that your school can't afford to hire teachers who speak Urdu and, Italian and Chinese or whatever. They don't appreciate the problems of everyday Americans. So they sit on their high horse and they pontificate. And the truth is, we are living in a country without a border. This president is aiding and abetting the invasion of this country. We now find out that they're flying in illegals to 43 different airports in this country, and they won't tell us anything about it. Violent crimes are on the rise by citizens from foreign countries who just want to be here, and it's a joke to them. And as it relates to Joy Reid, okay, Republicans aren't interested in economics. We're not interested in making sure our families can eat, that we can afford groceries this week, or we can afford to put gas in our cars. They are living in a delusional world that's all about hate. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired. You can go to any 7-Eleven, any Dunkin' Donuts, any supermarket. There are blacks and whites and brown people and yellow people. We're all part of the same families. We all get along. But they have to create this hate because if they don't create this hate and race baiting, they're not succeeding. Well, you know what? I think this is the year where it's going to come down to, just like it did in 2016, it's going to be a different election this year.
Harold Ford Jr.
So the commentators at MSNBC were wrong. That's not funny. Sometimes you tell a joke or you say something, and you may not have meant to say it. Might have been the moment, the momentum of the moment, and then you got to come back and sort of understand. I think the West Virginia thing, there was some humor to that, but there's not humor when you say this issue is not a real issue. This is something that voters all across the country are feeling, regardless of the state they may live. And whether you think border states, because they are on the southern border, should be the only ones dealing with this, you can't tell voters that. We talk about around this table a lot that the economic data and even some of the crime data suggests that violent crime is coming down across the country and coming down even here in New York. But I can tell you, my wife and I don't feel any safer than we did 6 months ago, even though the numbers suggest. And if you run on data and not people's feelings, you're going to lose. The same is true with the economy and economic factors impacting everyday families. And the foremost issue on the minds of voters, regardless of where they live, is border security. I hope tomorrow night President Biden will say that he is signing the executive order to reinstate to reverse catch and release. I hope he says he's going to reverse the executive order about staying in Mexico. And I hope he says, I'm willing to negotiate with you Republicans, like John Fetterman, I thought aptly and rightly said last week on H.R. 2. I may not give you everything you want on asylum reform, and I'd give you everything you want on the border wall. But we're going to get something done because the American people deserve it. And if you want to call it the Lake and Raleigh Act, we'll call it that. But let's get something done. And I've signed the orders already. That would be the news tomorrow, to not only the politics of it will take care of itself, but the issue needs to be addressed and I think can be resolved with not only the president doing what he needs to do, but the Congress doing what they need to do as well.
But here's the thing. Harold Ford Jr. is not writing the president's speech. And
Just
he's
like
not going to say that.
You didn't write Trump's last night either,
when,
so I hope he does.
when is the last time the Democrats ran on data and not on people's feelings? Again, it was 2016. For example, it was like using Waze at the Hillary Clinton campaign. They're like, we don't need to go to Michigan. We're looking at the numbers. The numbers look fine. And the campaign in Michigan was like, we're taking on water, guys. We need a lot of help. And they wouldn't go to see them. If Kamala Harris was a newscast and laughing about an inappropriate issue, that's what you would have seen last night. In Virginia specifically, Governor Youngkin has said 5 people a day die of fentanyl poisoning in Virginia alone. They have the MS-13 guy who was just convicted the other day of murdering 2 kids, or 2 bodies that were found in a kid's park. So MS-13 alive and well right there in Virginia where you're talking about. And I also don't understand why they don't want to help America's blue city mayors. I mean, who doesn't want to help the mayors of Chicago and Philly and Boston and Denver?
New York.
And New York. I mean, these are blue city mayors who are begging the White House to help on what issue? Oh, on immigration. That would be the issue. Finally, as Hugh Hewitt said this morning, mocking suffering is always a bad look. But what was Joy Reid actually calling Republican voters? She's calling them deplorables. It is the stain that they cannot wash out.
You know, just one more thing about, I think that Americans are also now just questioning data in general. They're not just buying this stuff. What Harold says is how you experience things. When they don't match the data, you don't believe the data. And we're at a situation now where we don't believe it. And we know that a lot of the crime data changes because they don't report crimes anymore. They downgrade them, so they're not actually a reduction in action. They're a reduction in tabulating such events.
You know what I don't believe?
My collar?
How tall your collar is.
I know, it's a pretty tall collar, huh?
Gonna go a little higher?
This is Arthur Fonzarelli classic.
The collar just got 10 inches taller. Coming
Very
up.
cozy.
Joe Biden getting steamrolled in the primary by some random guy.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.